A warm welcome to the news at 7. I am Comfort Amodu, and let's begin with the news headlines. President Buhari engages presiding officers of National Assembly towards addressing the demands of NSAS protesters. Voting ends in Guinea as octogenarian President Alpha Conde seeks third time in power. Global COVID-19 cases exceed 2.4 million in past 7 days. Europe accounts for a third of all new cases. And President Muhammadu Buhari has formally engaged presiding officers of the National Assembly towards ensuring that the genuine demands of the NSAS protesters are addressed as soon as possible. State House correspondent at the Musambo reports that the meeting, however, expressed worry over the accompanying violence to the protest in some parts of the country, saying time has come to give the government a chance to deliver on its promises.
The NSAS protest, which entered day 11 in parts of the country, is without doubt a trying moment for Nigeria and indeed its leadership. This is more so because violence has now been introduced to the somewhat peaceful agitation by the youth, indicating that the protesters might have lost control of the initiative. Senate President Ahmed Lawan and Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila are here to critically analyze the situation with President Muhammadu Buhari and see what can be done urgently towards restoring order. After the meeting, which lasted about 1 hour 40 minutes, both the President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, and Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila reassured Nigerians, especially the youth, that President Muhammadu Buhari has their interests at heart and is indeed committed to the sustainable future of the country.
The essence of coming to meet Mr. President is to review the situation and see the roles that the two arms of government should play in ensuring that the demands of the protesters, the 5-point demands, are properly addressed. Where legislative intervention will be required, we are ready to move in and deal with such expeditiously to ensure that we don't waste any time, so that we address the concerns of our youth. Where the executive role is expected, we are sure that the executive will also expedite action, and we will be watching to ensure that such demands are properly met.
And I can assure you that there is no bigger Democrat than Mr. President. He gave us a listening ear that the same as he's always given Nigerians for the first time in history. Don't forget his background. He accepted absolutely everything that Nigerians asked for. It's the first time in history that, because I've heard this story that, we've had NSAS, 4 times before in our past, and that's what people are saying. And like I say, this is the first time you haven't heard it from Mr. President. You've never heard it from Mr. President, but now he said so. So let us tarry a little while, give it a couple of weeks, and see what happens.
The presiding officers of the National Assembly therefore pleaded with the Nigerian youth to end the protest now in the greater interest of all.
The protests have already yielded the desired results. First of all, they say end SARS. That was the beginning. SARS was ended not by the IGP. SARS was ended by the president himself. The president, President Muhammadu Buhari, made a statement, a presidential statement, and that will be the first time that any president will say end SARS. And SARS has ended. When you try to stop everybody from engaging in their lawful businesses, closing roads to markets and other economic places, we distract the economy of the country, and that is not the best way to go. Other Nigerians have legitimate rights to go on their lawful businesses without let or hindrance, and we cannot have that when the roads are blocked. So we don't want a situation where there will be a degeneration of law and order because somebody is blocked and he feels he must have his way. So we believe that withdrawing from this process at this moment is the right thing to do. Meanwhile, give us the opportunity to deal with matters that we have, as a government, agreed to handle.
I don't want our youth to lose the plot. They've done so well in terms of expressing their grievances. And the important thing is that government has heard you loud and clear. It's unfortunate what happened the Osun State governor. And this is where, I say we begin to lose the plot. We should not allow people to infiltrate what otherwise is a good cause. For whatever it's worth, trust government in what it has done now. It has ended SARS. Nobody can argue that. SARS is ended. It's apparently a police code anywhere in the world that you don't leave a vacuum. It has to be filled. And that's why they came up with SWOT. It's a complete departure from the way SARS was meant to operate. Let us remain focused. Let us stay on track. And the way to stay on track is to work with government.
Senate President Ahmed Lawan and Speaker Femi Bajabiamila assured Nigerians that everyone is on the same page in this onerous task of achieving the desired policing with pride, trust, and integrity. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has described former military head of state General Yakubu Gowon as a gallant patriot whose commitment to national unity is beyond comparison in the annals of our history as he marks his 86th birthday anniversary. In a statement signed by Senior Special Assistant to the President, Media and Publicity, President Buhari remarked that the role General Yakubu Gowon played in Nigerians' political history and infrastructure development is etched in stone and cannot be rewritten. According to the President, the Nigerian Civil War brought out the most brilliant qualities of General Gowon as a visionary leader who put the interests of Nigeria before his own personal interest and led a very impressive national reconciliation effort at end of the Civil War in order to heal the bitter emotional and psychological wounds of the fratricidal conflict. And President Buhari added that General Gowon is one of the fairest leaders I have ever known who has inspired so many future leaders, just as Nigerians cannot forget General Gowon's immeasurable contributions to the unity and development of Nigeria. Our federal government has assured Nigerians that it will strive to contain the NSAS protest, which is gradually being hijacked by hoodlums. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed gave this assurance when he appeared on NTA Weekend File. Anthony Forsen has reports.
There's no doubt whatsoever that the NSAS protest has been hijacked completely. The original conveners of NSAS might have meant well. But what we've witnessed in the last few days has clearly shown that they are no longer in control.
Confirming a protest that started with genuine intentions to press home some demands, which the federal government accepted, Lai Mohammed wondered why such genuine protests will take a dangerous dimension by physically attacking the convoy of the Osun State governor.
You can see what happened in Osogbo. Is that an NSAS, protest? And anybody who's been watching this, saga, will see that they are even now saying, oh, we are coming at you.
He regretted that the original convener seemed to be losing grip of what ordinarily is an integral part of democracy.
And that is why the federal government, the last 11 days or so, has treated the protesters in a very civilized manner. They came with 5 demands originally. On the 12th of October, Mr. President himself personally intervened in the NSAS protest when he said the disbanding of the SARS is only the first step in the comprehensive reform of the Nigerian police. The response of the federal government has more than met those demands. And I also want to put on record that the federal government, and here I want to congratulate the IGP, the police, they have behaved in an extremely responsible and responsive manner despite obvious provocation. With every demand of the group being met, another demand is coming up. The goalpost is shifting every minute. And that one begins to wonder, what really is the intention of the group?
To this end, Lai Mohammed assured that the federal government will do all within the ambit of the law to ensure that anarchy does not take center stage of this NSAS protest. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
The Inspector General of Police, IGP Mohammed Adamu, has reaffirmed that the new police tactical team will operate within very high professional and ethical standards, rule of law and dictates of best international policing practices. The Nigerian Police Force is partnering with the International Committee of the Red Cross and other development partners for the training of the tactical team, which commences Monday, 19th of October 2020 at the Police Mobile Force Training School in Ila Oregun, Osun State, and the PMF Training School in the Hills, Nasarawa State. In a statement signed by Force Public Relations Officer Headquarters DCP Frank Mba, the IGP reiterates that no personnel of the defunct Special Anti-Robbery Squad (SAS) will be a member of the new tactical team, and that the officers selected for the training are young, smart and energetic officers who have acquired not less than 7 years working experience with clean service records. And areas of training program will include modern-day police ethics and values, intelligence-led policing, operation planning, tactical decision-making processes, hostage rescue tactics and operation, weapon handling, first aid, basic life savings, as well as stress and fear management, police citizens and relations, and emotional intelligence as well. Now, the training models will be handled by other carefully selected development partners, security experts, as well as veterans from the civil society and human rights community. The IGP seeks the cooperation of citizens in the ongoing development drive for a new and reformed Nigerian police force, while calling on them to be patient and to believe in the reform processes, which are all directed at ensuring the security, safety, and rights of all. Our voting is open and ongoing in Guinea's 2020 presidential election after months of speculations and fear over the conduct of the exercise. Nnamdi Odipo is in Conakry and reports on how the polls officially opened. All right, and votes sister West African state of Guinea are now awaiting the outcome of the presidential election, which took place in all 8 provinces of the country, as the octogenarian president Alpha Condé seeks to extend his decade in power after pushing through a new constitution that allows him to run for a 3rd term, sparking months of violent protest. In the capital, Conakry, dozens of voters queued quietly at polling stations to perform their civic responsibility, and the National Election Commission said on Saturday provisional results will be published within 3 days after it receives the last polling station tally. The Constitutional Court will then have 8 days to declare a winner. We'll bring you details of that report in our subsequent bulletin. And our total of 10,410 people from 6 states will be benefiting from federal government's 2020 Conditional Grant Scheme through the Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria. Smedan Olainka Ujo reports that out of the total number of 600 small business owners from 6 area councils in Federal Capital Territory are benefiting at the start of the scheme.
Micro, small and medium enterprises represent more than 95% of businesses in Nigeria, contributing 86.3% to the national workforce. This sector is, however, not left out of the coronavirus impact.
One of the ways to achieve this is through promoting the activities of micro enterprises across the country in the areas of capacity building, and the delivery of post-intervention support services.
Getting the country's enterprise development space meet expectations aimed at creation of jobs, poverty alleviation, as well as improving internally generated revenue is why these small business owners and beneficiaries are moving from informal sector to the formal sector.
This noble initiative, Conditional Grant Scheme CGS, looks to promoting activities of macro enterprises across the country in the area of capacity building, delivery of post-intervention support services, such as access to finance.
Each of these beneficiaries will have access to the sum of 50,000 naira to either scale up their existing businesses or use as startup capital.
Most of us do our business ignorantly. Most of us don't have business accounts.
The Conditional Grant Scheme is a product of the 2017 National Survey on MSMEs. So far, more than 30,000 people have benefited from the scheme. Olayinka Uju, NTA News.
Many thanks, Olayinka, for that report. And we will take a break now. More reports when we return. Stay with us.
Demands of #EndSARS movement. Immediate release of all arrested protesters. Justice for all deceased victims of police brutality and appropriate compensation for their families. Setting up an independent body to oversee the investigation and prosecution of all reports of police misconduct within 10 days. In line with the new Police Act, psychological evaluation and retraining to be confirmed by an independent body of all disbanded SARS officers before they can be redeployed. Increase police salary so that they are adequately compensated for protecting the lives and property of citizens. Federal government's response. On 11th October 2020, the Inspector General of Police dissolved the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, SARS, across the 36 states police commands and the Federal Capital Territory. On October 12th, President Muhammadu Buhari addressed the nation, stating the disbanding of SARS is only the first step in our commitment to extensive police reforms. On 13th October 2020, the Inspector General of Police ordered all defunct SARS personnel to report at Force Headquarters, Abuja, for debriefing as well as psychological and medical examination. On 13th October 2020, the Presidential Panel on the Reform of SARS accepted the 5-point demand of the #EndSARS protesters. On 15th October 2020, the National Economic Council, NEC, directed the immediate establishment of state-based judicial panels of inquiry across the country to receive and investigate complaints of police brutality, related extrajudicial killings with a view to delivering justice for all victims of the dissolved SARS and other police units. State governors should immediately establish state-based special security and human rights committees to be chaired by governors in their state and to supervise the newly formed police tactical units and all other security agencies located in the state. This will ensure the protection of citizens' human rights. Members will also include representatives of youths and civil society, as well as head of police tactical units in each of the states.
Welcome back. Now, more than 2.4 new COVID-19 cases were recorded worldwide in the past 7 days, with Europe accounting for a third of all the new cases. Let's now join Joy Somitu for the review of the pandemic in the outgone week.
Four more persons have died from COVID-19 complications in Nigeria, taking the total number of deaths in the week just ended to 8, as against the 2 reported in the previous week. Analysis of data published by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control shows that between 11th and 17th October, a total of 1,204 new cases were reported in the country, indicating an increase from the 816 cases recorded in the previous week. The update further shows that total confirmed cases in the country is now 61,307, while 56,557 have recovered, signifying that 3,627 cases are still active in the country. Africa has reported 1,648,763 cases with 39,656 deaths. Worldometer dashboard as at 6 p.m. Nigeria time indicates that 29,973,628 patients have recovered from coronavirus, out of the 40,078,688 cases that have been reported. The world saw an increase of more than 2.4 million new cases in the past 7 days, with more than 37,000 fatalities. Europe's second coronavirus wave took a dramatic turn for the worst in the outgone week. Statistics show that a third of all new cases worldwide are being detected in Western European countries. Millions of Europeans are facing tough new coronavirus restrictions as governments stepped up efforts to slow the surge in infections across the continent. At present, Europe is recording more new cases than India, Brazil, and the US. Meanwhile, the Wallis and Futuna Islands, a French island collectivity in the South Pacific, have recorded their first case of COVID-19. The islands, aided by its remoteness, had been COVID-19 free since the start of the pandemic. Until this confirmed case, Wallis and Futuna was the only French-administered territory without the coronavirus. And that's a global update on COVID-19. I am Joyce Ometu.
Now, key players lately in Nigeria, a subsector oiled by the steady collection and usage of postage stamps, are working to revive the interest in its dwindling fortunes with the belief that its inclusion in school curriculum can fast-track its resurgence. Here's the report.
Of Nigerians have lost touch with letter writing and mailing, in which postage stamp plays a key role. The advent of new technologies in message delivery has slowed down the industry in Nigeria, even though it remains vibrant in the developed world, especially in the COVID-19 pandemic era.
Technology has made everybody to be exposed more better than post office.
Many of those who still use the postage stamp even for other purposes like contract processing hardly pay attention to the values and information it carries.
The stamp of any nation is also the authority of that nation. And so when you want to put the history of a nation together, truthfully, the best medium is for you to go through the stamps of that country.
Experts in the industry in Nigeria are not giving up on the revival of interest in the study and usage of postage stamp. They believe it is a potent way of reawakening national values and keeping the nation's history for posterity, with NIPOST leading the effort through the launch of a national compendium of 100 years of postage stamp in the country.
Art of philately is almost dying, so basically we think this will revive it because it's a history of stamps for 100 years. It talks about our culture, our rich heritage. It will be used as a research tool in universities and polytechnics.
If you see any stamps up to 1930s, you will see postage and revenue, which means postage stamps were serving dual purposes of both postages and revenue.
Beyond the shores of Nigeria, the stamp compendium is one of the few from Africa that will feature in the 2022 World Stamp Exhibition to afford the world a window to peep into Nigeria's positive values, heroes, and rich culture. In Abuja, Kelvin Ewonwaye, NTA News.
And now, Ilushi community in East and Southeast is famous as the food basket of Edo State. Nestled on the bank of River Niger, this food basket is under water. Onange Fineface reports on the implications of this flood and the promise of respite.
With 14 villages and 9 quarters, Ilushi in East and Southeast Edo State lies low on the bank of the River Niger. Flood from the River Niger has submerged Ilushi.
So if they can help us to do the piling, you will see that all these year by year, flood every year will stop.
Ilushi is a farming community popular for rice, cassava, and yam production. 20,000 hectares of rice farm currently underwater in the community.
No one rice, no single rice, no food at all. That's everything, flood don't carry everything. So everything now, just nothing we get for this year again. My people, they are all in pains. All their rice, whatever thing they put in for this year has been submerged by this surge of River Niger.
Elders of the community say what was supposed to be an embankment project, poorly done, has worsened the fortunes of Ilushi.
They said that we are doing encroachment, that the landslide will not fall back into the river anymore. They made that place lower than the other banks.
Government officials, however, say all hope is not lost for the community.
We have built shelters, and then by next week we'll be moving them in batches. And because we're trying to keep the COVID-19 protocol, that's why we're taking precautionary measures.
At the moment, rice farmers are running against the tide, trying to salvage whatever harvest they can gather from the flood.
The many one where they now the farmers must know the park now. I don't see something when I go chop. I don't see food when I go chop now.
For now, it's a long wait for life after the flood. In Ilushi, Edo State, Onengiye Fine Face, NTA News.
And in security, now the Nigerian Army has launched a military exercise codenamed Crocodile Smile 6 at the Nigerian Army Super Gamdu Borno State. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa highlights the objective and scope of the exercise.
Lieutenant General Tuku Buratai, the Chief of Army Staff in Gonorigorji in Borno State, inspecting platforms deployed for Operation Crocodile Smile 6. Exercise Crocodile Smile 6, a real-time military operation, is part of the Nigerian Army's aid to the civil authority that targets emerging crime.
It will include cyber warfare exercises designed to identify, track, and counter negative propaganda in the social media and across the cyberspace. It will also include a positive identification component to identify Boko Haram terrorists fleeing from the northeast to other parts of the country as a result of ongoing operations, as well as other criminal elements in other regions of the country.
The exercise that includes civil-military relations component like medical outreach, humanitarian assistance to the widows of the fallen heroes will commence on the 20th October and last till 31st December 2020.
The exercise is also planned to include the conduct of cybersecurity awareness seminars, detect and neutralize malicious posts, fake news, illegal recruitment scam, and internet hackers.
The exercise will hold simultaneously in all army units and formations across the country. This is to improve public safety and security, particularly this embark period. From the Nigerian Army Super Camp in Ngamdu, Borno State, Ismail Musa, NTA News.
That's where we'll wrap up the news at 7 on NTA News, on NTA International rather. I'm Comfort and Modu. Many thanks for watching. Remember, you can connect with us NTA to stand against rape and rapists. Good evening.